Hello and namaste, my name is Nidhi Nagori and welcome back to my channel. I know today's background looks very different. I used to shoot in this room, we're just getting things done around. I want to make this a proper studio so that there's always a creative background behind me every time I'm shooting a video. Just for reference, I used to shoot against that wall that you can see out there. But things are changing. Like I said, I want to do up this space a little bit more. And so expect a lot of changes. Now, obviously, this is not a permanent background, but I know it's looking a little different from my older videos. All right, now I want to tell you that not only is the background new, there's also a major update in my life, which is I got our second house in Canada. Yes! So we bought our second place. That's our first investment property. So we got our first place, which is this, where I'm currently shooting. This is my basement. With our second place, we have officially graduated from homeowners to also being landlords. I'm a landlady now, so I wanted to share with you guys some specific numbers of the amount that we bought the house for, what the house is like, how did we find the tenants, how did we find the property. Just want to let you guys know that this is a cash flow positive house, which means that all our expenses for that house every month is actually lesser than the income that we make on that house. So that is why it was a great deal and we went ahead and got it. So want to share all of that and also want to give you guys a good sense of what the GTA market is like. Is it worth buying a house? What to look for, what to not look for, what has my experience been like? So if you are a new immigrant, if you're planning to move to Canada, if you're planning to move to any other country and you want to understand what real estate terms you need to know as a new immigrant, then stick around because this video will have a lot of info. Any further into the video, I want to thank Innovation Credit Union for sponsoring today's video. Let me be very honest, getting your first house as a new immigrant is extremely challenging in Canada, especially because your credit history has not built up, so your credit score is low, and hence your mortgage is not easily approved. But now new immigrants have the option of Innovation Credit Union. And trust me, this is the perfect option for all new buyers in Canada, people who are self-employed, or people who've been rejected by banks due to low credit score. Here's a list of some of the amazing services that they provide. Flexible and affordable mortgage options, mortgage insurance for when you're unable to make your mortgage payments, earning cash dividends on your mortgage, and various ways to save money on your mortgage. Also now you can get up to $3,000 in cash back on your first mortgage. Isn't that amazing? I mean, I truly wish I had access to such options when I was buying my first house in Canada. But worry not, if I didn't have those options, that doesn't mean that you cannot have them. Innovation Credit Union is here to make your life and your mortgage journey super easy. So if you're looking for a financial checklist before moving to Canada, make sure you check the description box out. There's a link in there that you need to click on and everything else will just follow. And on that note, let's continue with the video. First up, I want to give you guys some background. We moved to Canada in June 2019. In July 2020, we got our first place. This is where we live currently. Like I said, I am in the basement of my current house. Now, this is a detached property. Detached, semi-detached, and townhouses and condos. These are the four kinds of properties. Detached being like you basically have the land to yourself. Your property is not attached to anyone else. Townhouses are like a bunch of houses that are attached to each other. And condos are what you call flats or apartments in India. But detached is what most people aim to get to. So we were quite lucky. We started looking right when the pandemic hit. I remember it very well. 16th March 2020, they announced a lockdown in Canada. We saw this house first week of April, and obviously we got a pretty good deal on our main house because at that point, nobody knew what's going to happen to the real estate market. Remember, it was just 2 weeks to lockdown. That was like COVID had just hit. Nobody knew what's going to happen. So we got a pretty good deal. And we actually thought that that's going to be our first and only house in Canada. We'll never buy another house. Why? Because my husband, Aditya, is against investing in real estate. For moral reasons, because real estate in GTA is crazy. People are not able to afford houses. And so he feels that we should not buy two houses or more than one houses if there's no need for it. We should allow other people to be able to buy their houses. And I agree to that sentiment and thought of his. But to be very honest, we're two different individuals. We have always earned differently, separately, and we've always invested separately. So he invests his money wherever he wants to. I invest wherever I want to. When I told him that I want to get another house, obviously he wasn't happy about it. But here's what I told him. I'll find a good deal that I can pay for myself. So the down payment, mortgage, everything can come from my income. And if that happens, then he said he's fine with paperwork because obviously I needed his name on the mortgage paperwork. So I knew that I'm up for a challenge because I had agreed to collect the down payment myself. And just to give you some more context, if you're buying a property for the first time, as long as it is not a very expensive property, you can pay less than 20%. So for this house, we actually paid only 10% down. And then you also get a rebate on the land transfer tax that turns out to be a lot. In our second house, that turned out to be $11,000. So you can actually save on $11,000 or $15,000 depending on wherever you're buying the place. And there are some other benefits as well, especially when it comes to mortgage. None of these benefits apply when you're buying a second property or an investment house. The first condition is that you have to put 20% down, which is a lot of money. The second condition is that there is no land transfer tax rebate, so you have an additional cost. Like I said, for us, it was about $11,000 for the second house. So I had done my entire calculation and I was like, oh my God, I don't have so much money. So I initially came up with a budget. My budget was between $725 to $750. Now I'm talking in $1,000. So like $725K to $750K. That was my initial budget for getting a second place. I knew I could afford 20% down payment and then all the closing costs come to about 2% of the entire house price. So $14,000 for my entire cost. And then 20% at max of the house value, which is if I bought a house for $750, then 20% of that would be $150. So $150 plus 14, which is $164. And I had a budget of $170K. So that's going to be my first tip to you. Make sure you come up with a budget. It's very important to only buy real estate in your budget, especially in the GTA area, where house prices have gone up by 20% in 1 year. So you want to make sure that you're not overpaying just in case tomorrow there's a correction. You also want to make sure that there is real estate appreciation every year that you can encash upon, apart from the fact that this can be your investment property and it can give you passive income. Now I know I've given you a lot of numbers, so I'm sure you're already asking me, how did I make that money? So there were various sources of additional income that came to me this year. The first being my job changed and I got a 30% hike in my salary. That was a lot of money, to be very honest, and I started saving that from the get-go. The second was vacation savings. Obviously, we weren't traveling anywhere. We have a vacation budget of $10,000 a year and we hadn't traveled for 2 years, so that was $20,000 straight up saved. And the third source was my side hustle that I'm doing on Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn. So all of these three sources combined gave me the money. I first collected my down payment. Let me be very clear. I first collected everything and only then did I start looking at properties. I did not start looking at properties until and unless my down payment was fixed. Also, as I already mentioned, me and my husband invest separately. He liked putting his money in green bonds and stocks. I just wanted to keep it in cash. Now I know that I was losing out on inflation, but I also wanted to encash on any house that I get, any good deal that I get. So figure out your own style. You could be somebody who wants to keep it invested somewhere. You could be like me, where you just want to keep it liquid just in case something comes up and you're like, okay, I will just move ahead and get that property. All right, so once you have your budget and once you have your down payment and closing cost figure out, what is it that you need next? Well, I think the third thing that you need, especially in a market like GTA, is a good understanding of the area and real estate. I personally happen to be very interested in real estate, and so I track real estate everywhere. And I cannot tell you to what lengths I have gone to get a property. So the first place that we ever stayed in Canada was our first condo, and our landlord had given us a very important tip. He had told us that in future, if you ever want to be a landlord yourself, please make sure that you buy a house that is not very far away from you, just in case your tenants need anything. Like, something is broken, you need to send a handyman, you need to go yourself to check things, etc. Just don't get a house that is like 1 or 2 hours away. I think that was an excellent tip. So that helped me narrow my area. I knew I couldn't go up north, like they call it the east side. So I knew I couldn't go there. And I knew I could go like west. So I could go towards Hamilton, I could go towards Brantford. These were the areas that I was tracking. And I can actually pull my hair as I'm saying this. There's a free app called House Sigma. You can use that to track all the real estate movements here, whether it's leasing, whether it's selling. So I was using that. I've looked at Georgetown, I've looked at Brantford, I've looked at Kitchener, Waterloo, and I was like, what's happening to real estate? How am I ever going to buy my second house? Because everything was so expensive. So in October 2021 and November 2021, I started seeing a few houses just to get a sense of what is it that I can get and is it even worth pursuing this option. I saw a couple of houses in a couple of areas and I finally zeroed on Hamilton. Why? Because I live about 20 minutes away from it, and I also wanted to get a place in a city where I'm putting in lesser money, just so that there is movement or there's scope for capital appreciation. If you buy a $1 million house, it can only go to 1.4, 1.5, right? I wanted to buy something that is low on the lower end and that has scope for appreciation. so that I'm also making money on the house increase, like the house value increase. The second thing, I did not want to search for tenants. I wanted a place that was already rented out, which was completely taken in. I wanted to take on the tenants so that I have no jhamela whatsoever. And once I had all that framework in my mind, I came to my fourth most important thing that you need, which is a good realtor. Here you need a realtor that you can trust. I obviously went with my friend this time. The first realtor was also amazing. This person is also equally amazing. I just wanted to go ahead with a woman realtor for a change. And I'm so glad I did that because they came up with some amazing options. I told them this is my investment property. I don't want to invest a lot of money. At the same time, I want a cash flow positive property. They took my requirements down and they only sent me listing that was worth investing time into, which I loved. I wasn't going around mad looking at houses. I only looked at houses that were worth my time and effort. Now coming to the house that I bought. This is a detached house. It has 5 bedrooms. It has 3 layers, like 3 levels. It doesn't have a finished basement. The basement is unfinished. And then there's a huge backyard and there's also a covered parking garage in the back. The construction of the house is very smart in the sense that the moment you enter the house, the hallway splits into like 2 areas. One goes to the top floor, like the 2 floors, and then one stays on the ground floor. These units are completely separate and can be rented out to 2 different families. And that's exactly what was happening. They were already rented to 2 different families. Now, these were completely separate units. They had 2 different electricity meters. They had 2 different kitchens, 2 different set of appliances. So fridge, washing machine, dishwasher, everything, 2 different bathrooms. So you can imagine it was like basically 2 condos for the price of 1. And the moment we saw it, we were like, this is it. Why? Because this property will always continue to be cash flow positive. We currently make an income of $3,350, which is $3,350 per month from the 2 families that are currently renting out the space. Our costs are $1,900 per month for the mortgage. There's also home insurance that we pay for and the heating costs. And if anything breaks in the house, obviously we take care of it. Let's budget $600 for that. This also includes vacancy in case they leave the place, etc. So I've accounted for all of that. Worst case scenario, my costs in a month come out to be $2,500 and I make $3,350 on it. So that's $850 per month of passive income. Not to forget, and this is just passive income, not to forget, the capital appreciation is at least 5 to 10% even in worst economic situation. Unfortunately, I cannot show the place to you guys because we already have tenants in there who've been living there. This is their place. They've made it home. We went, we met them, exchanged gift cards. It was such a nice feeling just being able to now be a landlord from an immigrant. The fact that, we came from such small towns, me and my husband, and now we've built this up and this has been such an amazing journey. Our tenants are amazing. They pay everything on time. They reach out to us if they have questions. So that way, I loved the entire process. One quick thing that I did want to mention about the house was that this was an off-market listing. So it was a private sale and we did not have the standard timeline to close it. Typically, the timeline is between 60 to 90 days. We only got 45 days if I'm not wrong. And it was a mad dash. We actually went in firm. By firm, I mean that we did not get our mortgage approved initially, which was a mistake, and I highly recommend you do not do it. Please put the finance clause in anytime you're going to buy a property. Now, what the finance clause means is once you put in your offer telling the seller that you want to buy the property, if the seller accepts your offer, you get 5 business days to go to a bank, get your mortgage approved, etc. If your mortgage is not approved, the deal falls through. For us, we did not do that because the GTA market is just mad. And in the end, we got stuck because the assignment laws changed, the mortgage laws changed, and we basically weren't able to secure a mortgage because federal government changed the regulation. We suddenly weren't eligible because this was an assignment sale. Lot of madness happened. In short, please make sure that you're using Innovation Credit Union services just so that you do not get stuck with your mortgage. But eventually the mortgage deal that we did get was favorable. The interest rate is only 1.35% and it's variable, which is amazing. And it is definitely on the lowest end. I think the interest rates have gone up 0.25% if I'm not wrong, but that still doesn't put us in a bad spot because the numbers that I gave you already account for that. So we still make $850 profit every month on that house. Alright guys, on that note, this video has come to an end. I hope that this video was helpful. The whole goal of making this video was to give you guys a sense of what's the real estate market like and how can you as a new immigrant plan to buy a first or a second house in this market. Hope that this video has helped you. Hope this video has helped you understand the real estate situation in Canada. If you have any other questions, please let me know in the comments below. Obviously, if there are a lot of questions, we can make another video about this and maybe hopefully show you guys the place as well at some point. But until then, let me know what are your questions about this house, about Canada, about anything in general. Before going, don't forget to hit the like button down below, subscribe to the channel. I promise to see you in the next video. Until then, make sure you take care of yourself. Stay safe. Namaste.